All right, if you're following along with the handouts, we're on slide 38. Now, we're going to make a change. Please look on the screen. We're changing the controller. So if you still have the program running, stop the run. Go back to your MPG controller and put in those 2 lines you see there that are in blue. The thing you have to understand as you're typing this in about the view bag is every part of the program can reference it. Did you hear that? Every part. It's not like you got to pass it any place. Does everybody have those 2 lines typed in? All right, I'm going to go very quickly, hopefully, to my program and go to my controller, and I'm going to type the 2 lines in. So it's right under that, right above this. So I want to say viewbag dot miles driven equals miles driven viewbag dot gallons used equal gallons used. I'm asking, can somebody look at those 2 lines of code that are right here and tell me what they're doing? Thank you. It's not a trick question. The view bag is kind of like this. I mean, look at it this way. The view bag, it's like you got this big bag that you can stuff anything that you want into it. So what we're doing is we're stuffing into it the miles driven that we passed in and the gallons used we passed in. Does that make sense? All right. Maybe right now it doesn't make a lot of sense. But what I want you to do, please, next is now we've got to do the actual connecting. All right. And what does that mean? That means now I want you to go back into your index.cs HTML file, this one. We've got all this cool stuff in here, right? All right, right before the form, we've got this. See that? All right. We'll already have that view bags miles per gallon. However, look on the screen, please. We have to add 2 more lines. See where this says type equal text? Look on the screen, please. Right here, we got to say value equals @ viewbag dot miles driven, and then down here we've got to do it again, but this one will have to say value equals @viewbag dot gallons used. Now we are making the connection between the two. Does that make sense? We're not there yet, but we're almost there. So click your double disk icon to save everything, right mouse click, and choose View in Browser. All right, this doesn't look any different. But now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in again 200. And again in here I'll put in a 20. I'll click calculate and lo and behold. All right. And look up here. Remember this? That's what we had to key in. Now we don't. All right. Now there are problems with this program that he's written. Okay? Mainly that, we're clicking submit and nothing's being submitted. What it's doing is it's doing the math for us. All right. So we put in that. Inside of our controller, we put in this that you saw in blue here inside of our index.cs HTML file. Now we're going to improve it some more. Look on the screen. In your view bay, in your index.cs HTML file, put in this. See where the circle is, where I'm circling? Put in this. You've already got part of it in there. Now somebody tell me in English, what is that conditional doing? Come on, it's 2 lines of code. What's it doing? Right. Now we are putting in some validation. We're saying don't show this if it's null. Why would we do that? Well, look on the screen, please. I haven't put the code in yet. So remember, I still have mine running, right? I've got it running right here. What if I come through here and I leave this blank? And I come through here and I leave this blank. And I click calculate. Right now, nothing's happening. And actually that's okay. Okay? But it'd be real easy to screw this up if you were passing in too many numeric values. Okay? So I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to stop the run. Probably didn't have to, but I am anyway. So I'm going to come back and I want to add this conditional into mine. So again, I want to go back into my index file. But where I've got this, now I want to say if, at if. Okay, I've got to ask this question. If you look up on the screen here, did you see when I started typing? Look at this. See that right there? I left that off. Why is that not going to work? Because it thinks it's HTML now. This says that this line is C#. Whoops. Come on. This says that this line is C#, right there. All right? Then this says this is C#, but boom, now we've broken away from C#, we're back into HTML. Boom, now we're back into C#. Boom, back into HTML. Boom, back into C#. Does that make sense? Technically, by putting this whole thing in a block in curly braces, It's saying that's all C sharp. But it's smart enough to know, oh, go back into HTML here. Does that make sense? Now, I mean, there's all sorts of things that we could have done here. You know, it says we could have done something like this. For instance, we could have come in here and said if it is equal to null, we could have put a paragraph right there that could have said, one or both values were illegal or whatever. All right, so there's a lot of ways that we could conceivably handle this. All right. The reason that that's important is it's not going to be too long. Those are going to have to be the kind of decisions that you're making. All right. The next thing that's here on slide 41 is on using helpers. Now, before we do this, please look up on the screen here. All right? At HTML.label, at HTML.textbox, at HTML.textbox, etc. Those are called HTML helpers. What that means is they are designed to write some of the code for you. Since they're HTML helpers, they're designed to write some of the HTML for you. All right? The system has to know basically the block in which it's being used. So we tell it here, we're beginning an HTML form. All right? It's the index method of the MPG controller, and it's under form method get. Stop typing and look on the screen, please. It's right here. This is the important part. It's saying it's the index method. It's the MPG controller. And we are using the get method. So in other words, this is what's getting called from here. Does that make sense? When it hits the return view, then control goes, boom. It goes from the controller and it goes to here, and that's where it's going to hit that code that you're putting in here right now. Does that make sense? Because this all this stuff, all that MVC is it's a big routing mechanism. I kind of look at it this way. Imagine that you were driving, and I've driven in there, but it's once, and it was about 30 or 40 years ago. I drove in New York. All right? And literally a friend of mine and I, long story, it's not worth telling, but we rented a Lincoln Continental, a brand new one. And I'm driving in the Lincoln Tunnel in a brand new Lincoln. And I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going. That was before there were GPSs. I'm speeding, and I may have had a little bit of alcohol in my system at the time. All right? What's that? Before it was illegal? It wasn't legal back then either, to be honest with you. So if you would, on slide 41 here, all right, go back into your index.cs HTML file and put in the code that you see here on slide 41. Yeah, you are replacing, you're just rewriting these lines here. And then this here, the using is new. All right. So yeah, a little bit, I guess. I mean, if it's easier, remove everything after the if statement and just type in all that stuff. Whatever's easiest for you. and this is a very generic, general question, but I'm asking. We're doing this very slow. I get that. Does what we're doing make sense to people? I saw two heads shake. Yes. Yes? Yeah. Evan, yes? Okay. And I don't mean like, does it totally make sense? Could you write yourself a really humongous 10,000 line e-commerce app now? All right. Tony said, yeah, I could. Okay. So we'll let him do that, I guess. And,
even though I can't even technically do it now.
yeah, that's true. He'll write it, but he'll write it in a different language, whatever one his computer will allow him to use. You could actually make a case and say that it's not that advantageous. All right. But what technically will happen with you doing that is, I mean, all it's doing is it's rendering the same elements, right? Okay. And supposedly they work faster, I believe, and technically this is more server-side code. We're writing it the other way as client-side code, so that's why I think it works faster. I mean, a smart aleck answer is because that's the way people do it. Right? But that doesn't really answer anything. Yeah, people do it this way. ASP.NET developers will do it this way always. Virtually always. Does everybody have that typed in? No? Okay. This is the entire file for your index.cs HTML now. Yes. Now has everybody got it done? Colin's done? Title, if statement, form. All right, so let's look at what gets replaced here. The form method equal get gets replaced with a at using statement. Oops. So our form tags have been replaced with this using and then the curly braces. Our label tag now is ooh. All right. So it's been rewritten. I do understand Colin's point. In fact, I remember one of the first times I ever really, I thought, started to understand using object-oriented programming. And I thought, man, this, things were going well. Thought it was a good lecture. It was right before the end of class. And I said, any questions? Somebody raised their hand. They said, I get this, but why? And I knew exactly what they meant. It's like, I can do this without object orientation. But it's going to internally run faster and better doing it this way. And I'm not saying that's a great answer. Do you like it? But it's basically, that's the best answer that I can give you. So if I come in here and again, view this in the browser, it's really running slow. All right, try it again with 200. Let's try it with 20 this time. Calculate. There it is. Okay, everything's hunky-dory. So the next thing that's mentioned in here on slide 42 is they talk a little bit more about these helpers. Again, used to render various HTML elements. You need to wrap it around so it knows the entire it's the equivalent of the form tags. All right, next slide. What I want you to get, please look at this slide here. What I want you to get out of this, and I've mentioned it before, but I'm going to say it again. All right? Get means you're not changing anything. Post means you are. So if I want to show a form, it's a get. If I've already got the form up there and you've changed something, you've changed some of the data, and you click submit, that's a post. Does that make sense to everyone? If it does not, as the author says here, in your nailer book on pages 46 and 47 of the nailer book, now it won't even let me bring that up, but that's fine. You can look and you can get his explanation of it. All right, so the next thing to do then, look up on the screen please, is we want to convert our form to a post. What does that mean? All right, for now, change this from formmethod.get to formmethod.post. Make that one change. I don't think in our CSHTML file, I don't think there's any other changes we have to make, but we're not done. We're done with this file. So change it from formmethod.post to formmethod.get. Right here. Backwards. Change it from get to post. So that's one thing we have to do. All right? Now we have to go back to our controller. So please open up your MPG controller. Look on the screen. See that word? What we did previously, we put we put post code into our get method. Do you understand that? So what we want to do is we want to change this. Give me a second here. All right, we want to come in and change this. That's nifty. I'm going to close this for now. Just close it. Forget it. Close it. There. All right. Please look up on the screen. Now you've got to go back to your MPG controller.cs file and make these changes. In other words, you want the index. Hey, look on the screen. Don't do too much work. You've already got all this code, right? So just put these two new lines in front of it and make this just a return view. Especially if you're not a quick typist. Don't give yourself more work than you have to give yourself. If you would take a minute, please just stop for a second and look at the screen. Does it make sense to you? Even though it doesn't say it, right here, see this thing? This thing? This thing right here it's as though we wrote HTTP GET up here. You actually can do that, but it's considered redundant. So this is what we want to have happen. This is an action method. That's what post is. This is more a static method. Does all that make sense? because it's not going to be very long. It really isn't. We're going to go in, and as a class, there'll be no book, no anything. It'll be me up here coding and you following along. We are going to create our own e-commerce site. Everybody's got this, correct? All right, let me put it in mine here. So the controllers, and of course I removed the slide. So this right here, I want to grab all of that stuff for right now. Just cut it for a second. All right. No, I guess I could have just grabbed this one, right? All right. So there's mine fixed. Again, what I should be able to do now is run this. Does everybody understand? Again, if it makes it easier for you, come in here and type in HTTP GET. A GET basically means non-action. Typically using a GET for something like displaying something, bringing a form up, or whatever. Post means action. So I'm going to save mine, and I'm going to run my index.cs HTML file again. Put in different numbers, 416, calculate 25, and boom, there it is. All right. About the last thing that gets discussed in this chapter. Would everybody please do this? Go out right now to https://www.telerik.com/fiddler. And if you go, you did that too fast. Let me grab it and put the whole thing up here where you can read it. There. Now, I have said this to you before. I'm saying it to you again. Mr. Paul Smith has got more hardware experience than Mr. Jeff Scott does. For me, if I'm having problems and the problem is hardware related, okay, I typically have a much harder time figuring it out because I'm not a hardware guy. What you can do with Fiddler is you can use it. If you look up on the screen here, I have never used it, but you get stuff that looks like this. Look on the screen. It's showing you internally that flow. Remember the flow that I showed you before where I had the message coming in and it went to the routing and it went to the controller? That's what this is showing you. With some people, that's a terrific way for them to learn. With other people who are more like me, it's not a terrific way to learn. All right. Finally, the underscore layout.cs HTML file. Look on the screen, please. True, we have an underscore layout.cs HTML file. True. We didn't create that. That was created, even though we made a blank or an empty project. All that says is our layout is what's in this layout CSHTML file, which is right here. So if we wanted to, we could come in and make massive changes in here. One change we might want to make, look on the screen here. We got ViewBag title myasp.net application. We don't want, let's say we don't want that for our output. We could just remove that part. Or we could put our own stuff in there. All right? But what I would like you to please understand about this is right here. That's creating the Navbar. Does that make sense to everybody? That's your Navbar. And actually it goes from here down to here. That's the Navbar, right there. All right? Then when we get down to here, that's the whole body. That's telling it to render the body, literally. Show me whatever's in that body. This is called the scripts section. And this says, make available to the program jQuery and Bootstrap. Does that make sense? And that's it for this thing. So if you remember, and you know, I'm trying to be fair here. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't know. But we did the miles per gallon from this assignment, correct? My question for you is, could you now go back and rewrite the other three like this? If you had a machine, could you do it?
If you send me what you did up there, how to figure it out again.
Yeah, okay. Because that's what I'd like you to do on Friday, when I'm not here, is to rewrite those three using this type of format. All right? And just give me everything on Monday. You might be amazed with all the stuff that's going on in my life this week, but I'm not going to grade anything this week. I've already told the first year people, because they're really happy because I'm like way up, just totally up to date with all their grading stuff. But I'm like, yeah, it ain't going to happen this week. All right? All right. Where are we? We are at 39 minutes. Let's do this very quickly. If you'd all look up on the screen here, please. The second thing that I had you make a copy of or grab off that flash drive, all right, that is a thing that's called Getting Started with MVC 5. You've got it in two formats now. It's a series of about 11 articles. First one is just 1 page long, but it's 11 articles. We're going to start going through that. All right? But before we do, let's take 10 minutes, and then we'll come back at 20 to 3, and we'll go till about 4 o'clock and see how much of this we can get done today.